I've always thought of myself as someone who enjoys the quiet, someone who doesn't mind walking alone in the dark. It gives me time to think, to reflect. But ever since that night, I can't bring myself to walk these streets the same way. It was a Tuesday, the kind of night where everything feels still. I had just finished work and was heading home, taking my usual route down an old street where the trees hang low and the houses look abandoned, even though people still live in them. It's quiet, too quiet. At first, I didn't notice anything strange, just my usual walk home. But then, I started hearing them, footsteps, behind me. At first, I thought it was just the echo of my own, but then I realized something wasn't right. They were too synchronized, too perfect. I looked back and saw nothing, no one. The street was empty. I shrugged it off. Must have been my imagination, I told myself. The next night, it happened again. I was walking the same route, trying to shake the strange feeling from the night before. But this time, it was different. This time, I could hear them more clearly. The footsteps. I stopped, thinking I was just tired or hearing things. But no, I could hear them. And when I stopped, they stopped too. When I walked, they walked. It was unnatural. I turned around again, trying to catch a glimpse of whoever it was. But nothing. There was no one behind me. Just the empty road, the dim lights. I started walking faster, but so did they. I didn't know what to think. Maybe it was someone playing a prank. Maybe someone was following me for fun. But I felt a chill run down my spine. And for the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. Like something was just behind me, watching. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling. The footsteps kept following me. Every time I turned around, there was nothing. But the sound was unmistakable. And then, I noticed something. The third step. It wasn't anything noticeable at first, just a slight shift. A gap between the rhythm of my steps. But then, it hit me. Every time I took the third step, the sound would shift. The footsteps were still there, but something had changed. It was like something else was there. Not behind me, but right beside me. The third step wasn't just a misstep. It was something waiting for me. Something ready to follow me. Closer. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was losing my mind. But no matter what I did, those footsteps kept matching mine. Every time I turned a corner, every time I sped up, they were right there, right behind me. I ran as fast as I could, my heart pounding in my chest. But the footsteps never stopped. They were faster now, almost as if they were gaining on me. I could feel them right behind me. I could feel the air shift, like something was right there. I turned around once more. Nothing. The street was empty. But I could feel it. I knew they were still there. The footsteps didn't stop. They were with me. And then I realized something. The third step. It wasn't just a random misstep. It wasn't a trick of the mind. It was deliberate. Each time I took it, it drew them closer. The third step was like a trap, a signal, an invitation for whatever was following me to catch up. Every time I took that third step, I felt a pull, a draw, like something was waiting for me, something hungry. And when I stepped again, it was like I'd crossed into their world. That's when it hit me. I wasn't being followed. I was being chosen. Each time I took that third step, I was pulled deeper, closer to something that was waiting for me. I had become part of it, part of this pattern, this cycle. I couldn't escape it. No matter how fast I ran, how far I went, I couldn't outrun the footsteps, because they weren't chasing me. They were already there, just waiting for me to take that third step. And now, I know the truth. The third step, it's not just an oddity. It's the key. The moment I take it, something changes. I've become part of this place, this nightmare. The footsteps aren't just following me. They are me. They always have been. I don't know what will happen when I take it again. I don't know if I'll ever be able to escape. But I do know one thing. The third step is a promise, and it's always waiting for me. Maybe you'll hear it too. Maybe you'll take that third step, and maybe, just maybe, you'll understand what it feels like to be followed by your own shadow. I wasn't expecting anything that morning. No orders, no deliveries. Yet there it was, a small, nondescript brown box sitting at my doorstep. No labels, no return address. Just my name, written in black marker across the top. Daniel. I live alone, far from town, at the edge of a thick, dark forest. The nearest neighbor is nearly a mile away. Seeing an unmarked package on my porch felt wrong. Still, curiosity got the better of me. Inside, there was only a single item. A dusty old cassette tape. Taped to it was a note, written in jagged, hurried handwriting. Play immediately. Follow instructions exactly. Your life depends on it. I stared at it for a long time, the silence of the morning pressing into my ears. It had to be a prank, right? But what if it wasn't? I found my old cassette player in a closet upstairs, one I hadn't touched in years. Dusting it off, I inserted the tape and pressed play. The tape hissed. Then a voice, low, deliberate, unfamiliar, began to speak. Daniel, if you're hearing this, you've already been marked. You must follow these instructions without hesitation. Step 1. Lock every door and window in your house. You have 3 minutes. Start now. My heart skipped. Without thinking, I sprang to my feet. 3 minutes. I raced through the house, slamming windows shut, bolting every door. As I worked, I thought I heard faint tapping sounds from outside, like long fingernails brushing against the glass. But I didn't look. I didn't dare look. I locked the final latch with seconds to spare. The tape clicked, and the voice continued. Step 2. Do not answer the phone, no matter who calls, no matter what they say. Almost on cue, the landline rang, a shrill, piercing sound that made me flinch. I stared at it. The caller ID was blank. The phone rang and rang, louder, more desperate. But I didn't move. Eventually, it stopped. The house fell back into silence. But it wasn't a comforting kind of quiet. It was heavy, charged, like the air before a lightning strike. The tape crackled again. Good. You're still alive. Step 3. Go to your kitchen. Open the third drawer on the left. Take what you find there. I swallowed hard. I didn't remember what was in that drawer. Old silverware, batteries. I made my way to the kitchen, every step echoing too loud against the hardwood floors. I opened the drawer. There was nothing inside but a long, serrated hunting knife, one I didn't own. I picked it up with shaking hands. The tape continued. You will need it. As the voice spoke, I noticed the shadows outside my windows thickening. Something was moving in the woods, several somethings, shapes, pale, distorted shapes. The tape spoke again. Step 4. Do not turn on any lights. They are drawn to the light. Stay hidden. I backed away from the window, gripping the knife. Another instruction followed. Step 5. At exactly 9:30 p.m., one of them will knock. They will call you by name. They will sound like someone you love. Do not open the door, not even if they beg. I glanced at the clock. In 14 p.m. 16 minutes. 16 minutes to survive. The shadows drew closer. I saw faces, or at least what was left of faces, sunken eyes, twisted mouths. They pressed their palms against the windows, smearing them with something dark and wet. My heart thudded so loudly I was sure they could hear it. The minutes dragged by. 29 p.m. I hide behind the kitchen counter, knife in hand, every muscle tense. Then, right on time, the knock came. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks. Danny? It was my mother's voice. Soft, sweet, gentle. But my mother had died 3 years ago. Danny, please, it's cold out here. Let me in. I clenched my teeth, squeezing the knife handle so hard my knuckles turned white. I didn't move. The knocking grew louder, more frantic. The voice turned desperate, pleading. Please, Danny. I'm scared. I need you. Let me in. I shut my eyes, covered my ears, refused to listen. Eventually, the voice faded into an ugly, guttural growl, no longer human. The knocking stopped, but the terror didn't. The tape crackled back to life. You've done well so far. Step 6. There's a hatch in your living room floor. Open it. Hide inside. Do it now. I had never seen any hatch in my living room. Had it always been there? I rushed into the living room, heart pounding. Sure enough, there was a small square panel in the floorboards, as if it had been there all along, unnoticed. I pried it open. A rickety wooden ladder led down into darkness. Without hesitation, I descended. The hatch closed above me with a click. Total darkness. I fumbled for my phone. But when I turned it on, the screen only showed static. No signal. No light. Nothing. Then I heard it. Above me. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Something was walking through my house. Several somethings. Their movements were slow, searching. They scraped their nails against the walls, dragging, tapping. The tape continued, somehow still playing, as if the sound filled the space itself. Step 7. Whatever happens next, do not make a sound, not even a breath. I covered my mouth with both hands. The footsteps grew louder. I could hear them sniffing, breathing heavily. Something pressed its face to the floor above me, so close I could hear the wet squelch of its breathing. I didn't move, didn't blink, barely breathed. They lingered, sniffed, tapped, and then, one by one, they moved on. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time twisted strangely in the dark. Finally, the tape played the last message. Step 8. When you hear 3 knocks on the hatch, climb up. You'll have 60 seconds to leave the house. If you fail, you will become one of them. I waited, tense, every nerve screaming. Then, 3 slow knocks echoed above me. I burst up the ladder. The house was empty, for now. But outside the windows, dozens of pale faces still pressed against the glass, watching, waiting. I didn't waste a second. I sprinted to the front door, flung it open and ran. The night air was freezing. The woods loomed dark and endless, but I kept running, never looking back. As I fled, I thought I heard them shriek, a high, inhuman sound that curdled the blood. I didn't stop, not until I reached the main road, not until I was far, far away. They say home is where you feel safest. Not for me. I never went back. I live in a small apartment now, far from any forests. I keep the doors bolted, the windows sealed. But sometimes, late at night, I hear faint tapping at the window. Sometimes I find small, dusty packages at my door with no return address. I never open them. I never play the tapes. I learned my lesson, because once you've been marked, they never really stop looking for you. I want to tell you a story about my friend, Jason. It's not my story, it's his. But it's haunted me ever since he told me. And I think about it every time I'm alone at night. Jason moved into a small apartment last year. Nothing fancy, just a cheap place close to his new job. It was an old building. Cracked walls, thin floors, the usual creaks and groans. Nothing unusual for a place that had been around for decades. At least, that's what he thought at first. The weirdness started about a week after he moved in. Jason would hear footsteps at night, coming from the apartment right above him. Slow, heavy footsteps, back and forth, like someone pacing. At first, he didn't think much of it. Maybe his upstairs neighbor worked late shifts or had trouble sleeping. But the footsteps never stopped. Even around 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they kept going. Back and forth. Back and forth. Always the same heavy rhythm. He started losing sleep because of it. One morning, fed up, he decided to talk to the building manager. And that's when things got strange. When Jason complained about the noise, the manager gave him a strange look. "There's no one living in 5B, he said. "That unit's been empty for 5 years. Jason thought it was a mistake. Maybe the guy just didn't know, but the manager was serious. The last tenant of 5B had, well, he hinted at something bad happening, something no one in the building liked to talk about. Jason went back to his apartment, trying to shake it off. But that night, the footsteps came again, louder than ever. And this time, they weren't just above him. They were right outside his door. It was around 2:30 a.m. Jason was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the heavy steps. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks on his front door. He sat up, heart pounding. He tiptoed to the peephole and looked out. No one was there. But when he leaned closer, he swore he heard breathing. Raspy, shallow breathing, just on the other side. He backed away slowly, locked every deadbolt he had, and sat in the corner of his room until morning. The next day, Jason decided to do something stupid. He wanted proof that he wasn't going crazy. He borrowed a broomstick and started tapping on his ceiling, right where he usually heard the footsteps. At first, nothing. Then, 3 knocks back, right above him, precise, deliberate. He dropped the broom and ran out of the apartment. He stayed at my place that night, crashing on my couch. I remember how pale he looked, how his hands wouldn't stop shaking. He said he wasn't going back. He said he was going to move out. Jason went back the next day just to pack his things. He swore he'd be in and out in an hour, but he never came back. I called him, texted him, even drove by his building. His car was still there. His apartment door was wide open, and inside, it was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no clothes, no Jason. It was as if he had never lived there at all. The building manager swore he hadn't seen him leave. They even checked the security cameras. Nothing. Jason walked into that building one last time, and never walked out. A few weeks later, the building rented out Jason's old unit to someone new. They say she's already been complaining about the footsteps at night. She says they come from upstairs, from apartment 5B. But that place is still supposed to be empty.